This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On Air.
Write On, showcasing the work of Otago Southland writers. I'm Beverly Martens. Join me for news and interviews with local writers on the second Wednesday of every month from noon till 1 and replayed the following Sunday at 1 p.m. Write On is brought to you by the Otago Southland branch of the New Zealand Society of Authors and kindly supported by the great team at the University Bookshop.
What do you want to be when you grow up? They say you are what you read, and the University Bookshop can help you be whoever you want to be. Do you want to be an athlete? Then sit down with an inspiring sports biography. Do you fancy yourself as a detective? We have a grisly lineup of murder mysteries waiting just for you. Do you aspire to be the world's greatest chef? We have cookbooks to tantalise your taste buds. Do you want to celebrate your inner child? Play up in our fabulous children's room. The University Bookshop, helping you decide what you want to be when you grow up.
Hello and welcome to the February edition of Write On. I'm your host Beverly Martens, and boy do we have a full and interesting show for you this month. Firstly though, let's acknowledge some of the significant wins and achievements by our local writers, shall we? For a start, Emma Neal won the 2023 Published Poet category in the Robbie Burns Poetry Competition, which was judged last month. The judges described her poem as a gorgeous, tender work about parental love and grief, and it certainly was. I was there at the prize giving, and it was incredibly poignant. So well done, Emma, and also well done to our Society of Authors local branch chair, Michelle Alvey, because she was highly commended in that same category. I also want to extend a warm welcome to Ōtepoti Dunedin to Michaela Nyman. Now, most of you will already know this, that she is the 2024 Burns Fellow, and I'll be talking to her on this show next month. But meanwhile, Michaela has been awarded a major literary prize by the Swedish Literary Society in Finland for her second poetry collection that connects Taranaki, where she currently lives, and her native Land Islands. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Michaela. So well done to you, Michaela. And then, of course, the all-important 2024 Ockham Book Awards long list has recently been announced. So we're thrilled to see that Barbara Else's excellent memoir, Laughing at the Dark, was nominated. That was one of my reading recommendations on our December show. And so really thrilled for you, Barbara. And also congratulations to the Dunedin Public Art Gallery. They have a stunning book produced to accompany the iconic printmaker Marilyn Webb's exhibition, which is on at the gallery at the moment, I think right until April. And there the book about that survey work has been nominated in the illustrated non-fiction category of the Ockhams. And also another shout out to two worthy local poets who have been longlisted within the Ockhams in the Mary and Peter Biggs Poetry Award category. They are Megan Kitchen with her debut collection At the Point of Seeing, and Rishi Vyas for his collection When I Reach for Your Pulse. So great. Big congratulations to Megan and Rishi. And we'll be talking a bit more about them with my guest later in the show, the poet and writer Liz Breslin. So, if all of the above inspires you to stick with your writing, but if you're short of either time, inspiration, or just the quiet space needed to focus on it without the myriad of everyday life things getting in the way, then I think my first guest will be of great interest to you. And I speak from personal experience because last October I was lucky enough to spend a week at the Michel King Writers Centre up in Devonport as one of their visiting writers. High up on Mount Victoria in an old signalman's cottage, the Michel King Centre is the near perfect place to advance your creative projects. So we're lucky enough now to be joined by the Centre's Executive Director, Jan McEwen, to talk more about how the Centre came into being and the various ways it tangibly supports local writers. Welcome, Jan, and how is 2024 shaping up for you and Tanya at the Centre?
Oh, thank you very much. No, it's going well. A little bit chaotic at the moment because we're having part of our roof. We had a leak last year, so we're getting brand new roofing, which is fabulous. But of course, these jobs always take longer than expected. So the residents in the house have got a little bit of disruption, but glorious weather, and they're still enjoying their residency very much. So
and of course that's probably slightly more complicated fixing the roof or anything at the Michel King Writers Centre because it's a historic cottage, Signalman's cottage. Yes. So can you just sort of paint a bit of a visual? I mean, there it is, lovely, nestled, halfway up Mount Victoria.
We're on the Tukarongamonga, and we look out to the Hauraki Harbour, and the house was built in 1896, so it's a very old villa, and it was originally built for the Signalman. So before there was a harbour bridge, and before, when the North Shore was very much sort of the countryside, and there were no trees on the Monga, the Signalman lived in that house, and as ships came into the harbour, he flagged over to the city to tell the city what boats were coming in. Different ships, and so every type of different boat had a different flag, and we've sort of got all the charts up on display up at the house. But that was the original purpose of the building, and then it's been all sorts of things since. But for the past 20 years, it's been the residency. So you're tucked up there in this lovely old villa, and we also have what we call the writer's studio, which is a little cottage, which we think perhaps was originally the washroom, laundry in the olden days. And we've got a gorgeous old, beautiful garden, sort of an old sort of cottagey sort of garden. And so you are looking out to the harbour and to the city, but you're cocooned in this little oasis on top of the mountain. Then you're literally, you're 2 minutes walk down the hill to the village and the ferry and restaurants and movie theatre and bookshops and everything that you might need if you need some time out from your writing. And of course we've got beautiful walks around the Monga, and around Devonport in general, or you can, in the summertime our writers grab the towel and go down and have a swim if the tides are right. And so it's really a little piece of paradise.
And I can absolutely verify that because I was lucky enough to be up there in October as one of the visiting writers. And you're right, you're sort of connected but not, and it's so tranquil. It's a near perfect place for writing. And I won't hesitate to let listeners know that, of course, even though it's an old cottage, it does have modern plumbing and it does have ensuite bathrooms.
It does.
And it's, warm and dry and safe and lovely.
Totally, And we try and sort of make sure that, everything that you could need. We've got beach towels, we've got yoga mat, we've got rice cooker. I mean, we've got, appliances and all sorts of things that you sort of might need. And, so no, it's very much modernised, but it has still got that lovely, people walk in and just say, oh, there's just a lovely feeling about this house. So, it's got a good vibe.
Yes, it really does. And, quails in the garden are an extra bonus.
Quails in the garden, and we've got a bird bath, which the writer in residence, their little cottage looks out to the garden, and there's a bird bath, and it's quite the display with all the tuis coming in, and we've had a great big fat caribou the other day, and the quails, and so no, there's sort of a lot going on in nature up there. It's quite lovely.
And in fact, I found the steep walk down the hill into Devonport just about right in terms of, when you're up there, you want to be focused on your writing. It's nice to know that you can go other places at the end of the day because no one can write all day and all night. That's just unrealistic.
Exactly.
And often walks and things are where you get your sort of genius breakthrough moments anyway with writing.
Right. Absolutely.
And I also love the fact about how sort of democratic you guys are because there's 2 bedrooms and the resident writer has actually the smaller bedroom because they have the writer's studio as well. So the visiting writer has a larger room with a desk in the bay window. Which means that you've got that space. Although because there's so many visitors walking up to the top of the mountain, they'll often come in and just peer in that window without
through the window.
Yeah, you feel a bit like Exhibit A, and you wish you might have been a painter instead of a writer, so that you could at least be doing something, throwing paint at the canvas or something. But writing, nothing to see.
Yeah. We've also got, you don't have to stay in that bedroom and write. We've got a lovely table which sits out on the balcony. You're looking out to sea. You can write there. You can write at the kitchen table. You can write at the lounge table. And then we've got garden tables as well. So there's lots of sort of other places you can go if you
there absolutely
want
is.
some change.
Yeah.
And then, of course, sometimes people, if they need to do a bit of research, they go, we've got a beautiful library in Devonport, which was built, probably 8 years ago, but it's fabulous. It's got lots of lovely spaces down there too. There's lots of options, but as you say, a lot of people just go walking and do a bit of thinking. And we've also got a really good library in the house. We've got reference library and a lot of historical collections, and then of course we've got a copy of everybody who's ever published a book has their book, and that's held a residency. We keep their books in the library, and then other people that have been associated with the centre. So, it's quite an extensive library, which a lot of writers really enjoy, just dipping into that and putting their feet up and lying on the sofa and having a bit of a read. So, because as you say, you can't be writing all day, every day.
All right, Jan, now let's sort of move into the residencies, because that's your sort of raison d'etre, isn't it, supporting New Zealand writers in that way. So there are these, do you want to talk about the kind of granted residencies that you have every year? And then we'll talk about the visiting writers option.
Visiting, So the residencies, it slightly varies by number, but it's usually between 18 and 20 residencies each year. So they range from 2 weeks to usually about 8 weeks, and so people can apply for whatever suits them. So when they fill in the application form, they sort of tick the box of what their top priority or preference would be, and then they tick the others, what would be the best dates for me, or, and then we have the job of working out, once everyone's been selected, we then sort of try and work out how it works in for everybody and sort of do the calendar. But the process is, you fill in the application form, and then we have a selection committee, and they have a process of how they work out, who's going to get the residencies. We pretty much accept all genres, so children's writers, poetry, pretty much everything. And
I think you get about 140 applications a year, don't you, Jean?
We do.
Yeah,
and so obviously not everyone can be chosen. And we really want to stress to people that just because you've applied and got turned down once, it doesn't mean to say that, your work wasn't good enough or that you're not going to be chosen again. It's obviously, there's just so many good projects that people, the committee have just got to, choose those ones, but it doesn't mean to say that the others aren't good. So we always say to people, apply again, don't give up, sort of thing, because it is a numbers game. We just, 140 people apply and we can only give 20 residencies. So we really want to make that point that it wasn't necessarily that your work wasn't good enough. It was just that, someone was better. But so that's how it works. And then, so that's usually done sort of September, October. And then we let people know that they've been successful and we give them their dates. And then, we've got a busy year of just greeting different people. We used to do much longer residencies, but as you will know, the income for the average writer in New Zealand is not huge. And so most people have got another job or, lecturing at university or they've got family commitments. So a shorter residency suits a lot of people. So 2 or 3 weeks really suits them.
I was just going to say that, just to be clear, that the residency is the space and the time, but there's not a stipend, and you'd still have to buy, you have to feed yourself for the week. So yes, I appreciate what you're saying about a shorter block would suit people better. Yeah.
Yeah, and because it's quite interesting, because when we used to do longer residencies, like 3 months or 6 months, quite often people would arrive, and that sort of first week they don't actually get much done, because it's that kind of lulled into this, I've got plenty of time, I can just sort of settle in slowly. But when people arrive and they've only got 2 weeks, it's like right into
much
it,
more
and
focused.
sort of,
yeah.
Totally, yeah.
That's exactly what I felt too. I was there for a week.
Yeah.
It was an amazing opportunity. Go, you know. So, yeah.
And we often have people, they come out of the studio, the little cottage where they write, and they come out, they go, oh my God, I've just written so many thousand words, and I've never done that before. And it's, we call it the sort of the magic cottage, because, people are just astounded at how much work they can get done when there's no other, life admin family sort of distractions. They leave their phone in the bedroom, and they're just ensconced in that little room, and you just go into a zen mode of writing. So it's quite lovely to see. Actually, people are just thrilled with how much work they get done.
And for me, it was just having that focus thing. You're right, and you do go into the zone. So because you're concentrating solely on your writing, and you're really giving it a lot of attention in one, long blast, as opposed to sort of picking it up and putting it down, and as you say, life getting in the way. I certainly had that, middle of the night, I think it was on about day 3, middle of the night breakthrough, where you wake up and think, that's bloody genius. I know how to do that now. And for me, I was working on a play up there, so it was a structural thing. It was like, how can I fit in all this other related information that I want in the script without using characters in it, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I had it. Of course, when you wake up, that's in the middle of the night. When you wake up in the morning, you think, well, it wasn't quite that brilliant, but it was it was kind of good enough, and I want to explore that. Yeah. So that's what happened for me. So let's move on to being a visiting writer then, because that is the other option, if you like. You have got the 2 bedrooms. So one you've got the writer in residence, and you're sort of fully supporting them, but there is a subsidised kind of payment option that you can have for the visiting writer at a pretty reasonable rate.
That is reasonable, which compared to, like, if you had to go and rent an Airbnb or something, I mean, it's for New Zealand writers, it's $480 a week, which basically is, you can
$65
pay that for
a night or something.
Yeah. And that's we've tried to keep it reasonable, but it's also an important income for us, because I mean, we get funded by Creative New Zealand and Auckland Council, but as you probably know, Auckland Council are doing big cuts, so that's impacted on us. And we've some other funders we've lost over the years, and we've got new ones. But the visiting writers' income is really important for us, and we're getting a lot of international writers, which is lovely. The word is getting out, and we've had people from all over the world staying as well. And that's, you basically book in just like you would, into a hotel, and your linen supplied, and you can pretty much just, arrive. And some writers actually order an option like My Food Bag or something like that, so that they know all their food is organised for the week. They don't have to sort of think too much about that. And they can book in for a week or 2 weeks or whatever they want to.
And the weeks run Monday to Monday, so Monday morning.
Monday to Monday,
and Monday out. A couple of things that I'd add to that based on my experience. One is that you write about the sort of food thing. I mean, I went to the supermarket on the Tuesday morning, stocked up for the week, and that was me done, because I think that's I wanted to focus on what I was there for, and not faff about having coffees in Devonport. And then the other thing was that actually it might sound, because we're talking about writers' incomes here, it might sound quite a lot, but it's not, as I say, over the, it's sort of youth hostel rates almost over the, over the nightly thing. But also I think actually there is a kind of thing that happens when you have to pay, then you do pay for things, that it does also increase your commitment, because it did with me. I was thinking, and especially for writers this far south, you've got to factor in airfares and things as well.
That's right.
So, exactly. You're doing that and you're making the commitment, so therefore you make the most of your time there. I certainly felt that I did that. I just, I had the weekend with friends before, but, I didn't sort of kind of speak to anyone else in terms of socially, during that week, and then you sort of come out the other end and you think job done, and then you can relax and be proud of yourself. So,
and the nice thing is you've got there's always going to be another writer in the house, but it's that sort of situation where if you want to sort of meet in the kitchen, at 6 o'clock for a glass of wine and a chat, you can, but you don't have to.
It's illegal, but it's not.
It is.
But it's not compulsory. And I certainly had lovely company the week I was there with Marianne Scott. So we just worked in well. But actually, you're right. We had slightly different rhythms. I'd often go and have a coffee, and she would have just had one or something, because it's how your rhythm goes. Fantastic, right. Jan. Have you got anything else you'd like to add?
No, just, the way to apply, we do, what we ask people to do is just send through an application via our website, which is writerscentre.org.nz, and they just, you just fill in the form and just sort of say, some people are very specific about the dates they want, other people are just like, oh, have you got anything in April, sort of thing, and then we just go back and forth with until we find a date that suits. Most people, if they are flying in, they just shuttle to the ferry building and then pop over on the ferry, and then we come down and pick them up from the ferry building and bring them back up to the house and settle them in. And your hospitality is brilliant. I felt really very welcome, and thank you. Pretty much everything was provided, but I knew that you or Tanya were just a phone call away if there was any issues. Yeah, that's right. I would also, as well as looking up the website, if any of our listener writers want to take this further, I would also encourage them. I think you have a regular newsletter, and I think you can sign up for that via the website. Via the website, yep. So that will keep them abreast of all the other opportunities that the Michel King Writers Centre is involved in. Yeah, certainly when we open up for the residency applications, the newsletter, people are the first to know, sort of thing. Right. So, good. Those dates sort of change, roughly sort of. It's usually September, but it can change depending on what's going on and what the committee are doing and things. So, if they'd like to sign up, but brilliant. Heads up. Hopefully, the website gives them most information that they should need anyway. Okay. Cheers, Jan. Great to chat, and look forward to seeing you again, another week, sometime maybe later in the year. So just for our listeners, it's writerscentre.org.nz. Now we're going to take a short musical interlude, and because it's Valentine's Day, I've picked a couple of laconic and subversive love songs to play. So the first is from a band formed right here in Dunedin back in the day, Netherworld Dancing Toys, and their gorgeous hit, This Is Not a New Zealand Love Song. Welcome back to the second half of Right On, kindly sponsored by UBS. And a very warm welcome to my final guest for this show, writer, editor and performer Liz Breslin. Now, Liz is one busy, creative woman. She was a regular columnist for the ODT. She's published 2 splendid books of poetry, the latter of which contained a sequence of poems which also won her the 2020 Kathleen Grattan Prize. She's also a facilitator, an MC and a PhD student. The list goes on. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you. That makes me sound real good.
Right, now let's start with your latest mission because sort of time's pressing on this. This is happening this Friday night, February the 16th, and you're centre stage at a fundraiser called Let's Get Liz to Boston. So that gives us the what and the who, but it doesn't give us the why. Can you do that for us?
Oh, well, some very wonderful people in the poetry community, organised by Eliana Gray, but also Rushi Vias, Jasmine Taylor, Claire Lacey and me. We're all going to be performing at this we show at Adjo, and we're going to be having a raffle and like having a good time with the hope that people will come along and pay to be entertained, because I'm going to go to Boston to go to like an academic conference, which I have not done before, but I'm talking about slam poetry in Aotearoa and how that's kind of a colonising force, and I'm very excited to go and represent that viewpoint at the home of slam poetry. Yeah.
So what's the overarching thing of the conference like? Is it got a kind of title or a...
It's... The whole conference is about surplus, but I mean, there's so many days of so many panels. And so the particular panel that I'm on is about poetry and spoken word. And just even the idea of spoken word as a concept speaks over the, I mean, years of performance poetry, but also like of different cultures that have different oral traditions, and we've packaged it up to make it this new thing, you know. So that's how my piece speaks into that. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds amazing. And just for listeners who don't know, Arjo is a cafe in George Street at the other. I'm pointing like you know. It's the other end of George Street, sort of down by Knox kind of area, isn't it? By Knox Church, sort of in that kind of area.
It's like now on the main street. I mean, people can Google it, right? But they used to have this real small place on the corner of the Botanic Gardens, but they've been real staunch supporters of like the creative communities for the longest time.
You've done other gigs there in the past at the old venue, haven't you?
Yeah. And I had my second book launch there, so it's real good for us to be able to support them as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And do you think, do you know how many people it can hold? Are you expecting it to be bursting at the seams or?
Well, it can hold lots.
Good.
There's always room for one more.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay.
So come.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And it starts at 5:30.
Yeah.
And it's finishes about 7. There'll be raffles, there'll be drinks. I think the entry fee is like $10 and $5 run wage. So it's incredibly reasonable. And you're in great company with some of the poets, including like Rushi, who's just been nominated for the Occams.
Oh, yeah. And Megan as well was nominated as well from OUP. I think... they're so fabulous, and that is one of the things that is really. I love this poetry community, and the wider Dunedin community, and I'm not very good at
asking for help
and getting support, and I know that is something that literally the first line of the first poem in my second collection is "She is self-sufficient, thank you very much," and it's and I think for a lot of us it's quite scary to operate in community because we're taught that we're supposed to be individually self-sufficient, and actually being able to be like helping each other and also taking help from each other. You know, it's taken a long time, but I've come to realise what a strength that is. And I went on, when Rushi released his book, I went on tour with him for that, and with Eliana as well. Like the three of us toured the book around, and it was really amazing to be able to see the reception that book got, and to understand the power of community through that as well. So I love it.
And also, I think often creatively writing, you know, if you're writing as a writer or a poet, you are doing that in isolation often, because it's you and your thoughts, and you're trying to actually work out what you want to say and how you say it, and sometimes it only reveals itself through actually writing it, doesn't it? So there's all that thing too. But in terms of the collaboration thing, doing performances and things just changes the whole dynamic, doesn't it? And that's why I'm drawn to play. I write plays mainly now because of the same thing. It's it's not a solo effort.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one thing about slam is that that's actually the antithesis to that. And a lot of people in slam talk about the slam community. And there are some ways in which spoken word groups, community word groups, create great community. That is absolutely undisputable, like in the scholarship. And also, I know that from my own experience. But the structure of a slam is that you start with 12 competitors. It's a competition. And what you have to do, like what the audience does, so what we all collude in doing, is vote them down. We are shutting people down, person after person after person, till only one person can speak. And it's actually kind of cruel and damaging, in the same way that having an arts grant system that depends on competition shuts people down. It makes us
It's all about winners, isn't it?
Yeah, and it makes us right towards the competition. It makes us, want to climb over other people in order to be successful. And this is like, some nasty capitalist scam that we don't need that. Like we can do community in different, much more powerful ways.
And yet equally it's also about communication and connection too, isn't it? So these are the positives of those kinds of things, of being in the room. That's why I love plays, it's beating hearts, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not a pre-manufactured thing that they're just going to sort of, hit the button and screen the movie, which has all been carefully edited and stuff. So there is more room for sort of spontaneity. And
I think that's really, really true. But then I think about what you say about being in the room. Like there are some rooms that I have left because I don't want to. I don't want to be adjacent anymore to what is in that room. And Nathan Joe, who's also an incredible playwright and, has done a lot of other poetry stuff, he was quite vocal about that, I think late last year or earlier this year. Like, he will be thinking about where he puts his energy and what he goes to and who he supports, in this current in the world that we live in, because that is actually how you make a choice, is what you show up for, and there are rooms just not interested in being in that conversation. So, yeah.
But what you are interested in is going to Boston. And that obviously feeds into, because you're doing a PhD, so this is kind of extending that in a way, isn't it? So can we go back to I don't know that much about your PhD apart from the fabulous title of it, Straining the Fence Lines, and I know that it's kind of focusing on coloniser writing in the South Island. But could you expand a bit more on that, please, Liz?
I think you're more coherent than that's the terrifying question to be asked. Like, what's your PhD about?
D in 8 words or less, please.
And I freeze. Yeah. But you're exactly right. I'm looking at some individual stories, but I'm doing the freeze. I'm doing the PhD freeze. Okay. I am looking at how we have this story in the rural south of Tuaipunamu. We have this story that it's the Shelby Wright blokey, like the Southern man. It's that story, that masculine settler colonizer story, and we tell it over and over and over again, and we tell it to the exclusion of other stories. I mean,
actions speak louder than words, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And of course we exclude all the stories of Mana Whenua in that story, and I can't speak to those. Like, that would be me recolonising them. But we also exclude a lot of other settler coloniser stories. Like, we exclude women's stories, we exclude queer stories, we exclude men's stories that don't line up to the masculine ideal. We exclude all of those stories, and we don't just exclude them once. We exclude them systematically by saying that they are less important than other stories, and that's how that is colonisation at work, because it leads us to believe that only these stories are important and only these stories are worth telling, and then we dehumanise other people.
And the stories then become the history.
That's right. And even in order to tell the other stories that I want to tell, because I'm engaging with the literature, I have to go back and look at the very masculinised settler coloniser stories, even in order to to say, look, there are these other stories here, because that's academic engagement. And I do think that's valuable. I know I just said the thing about not being in the rooms. I do think the most important thing we can do right now is engage with, is engage politely and like in conversation with other people, but not
confrontationally or...
Well, I mean, and there comes a time when there has to be confrontations as well, but like... yeah, it's messy. And actually my PhD is really messy as well. There's a lot of cut and paste things, and I've made a lot of zines, and I'm doing cross-stitch, but really bad cross-stitch where it's all unravelling at the edges, because I don't want to tell this settler coloniser story through the way we've been telling it. It's too damaging to everybody.
And it's too prepackaged, presumably, is it?
It is really, really prepackaged. And it's like... Laura Williamson has this amazing line in one of her poems about where you look is where you will go. Don't look at the edge, look ahead, look ahead, look ahead. I butchered that line. But the point being, we've got to look at other ways, and we can look back at other ways and forward at other ways, but there's not only this one story.
Right, brilliant. And is that what, because I also saw on your sort of the PhDs, the summary of what you were doing when I was doing my research, your PhD is a creative critical candidate. Now, what does that mean?
Well, firstly, thank you for doing research, and also for having me here. Like, I feel like it's so nice to have a conversation when you've so clearly engaged with stuff. It's really nice. So what that means is you can do a PhD that is a critical PhD, which means that you engage with other people's work and you write your own analysis of it, right? That's the critical side, but the creative side is where you make your own creative work. So, the poetry, the cross-stitch, the zines. So
the responses, your responses,
creative responses.
Oh, brilliant.
Actually, though, I think that's one of those really false divides. Like, don't tell me that, like, critical work is not in its way creative, like what you pay attention to and what you don't pay attention to. But the creative stuff is a heck of a lot of fun as well.
Brilliant. Now, just do a quick recap on the 2 books of poetry that you've published. Alzheimer's in a Spoon, published by Otago University Press back in 2017, and then your later one in 2021, In Bed with the Feminists, which was with Dead Bird Books, which is also Dominic Huey's publisher. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Dom's. The reason I bring that up is that I've heard you describe yourself as a joyful feminist, and I just wondered what you mean by that.
Have I described myself as that? Because I had something somewhere that was like joyless and disaffected, because that's what we're told we're supposed to be.
And as feminists sometimes are used as a derogatory term too.
I'm really interested in that as well. So there's 2 things about that, without changing my PhD title and writing a whole thing about that just now. But one thing is, I'm really deeply invested in queer joy, the idea that we've been told for a long time that
it's shameful.
It's shameful, and that you're not, that again, the stories that we're told is like, that you're not allowed to have happy beginnings, middles, or endings, and I'm going to. Good. So, yeah.
Well, you already are.
Yeah, there's that.
Deep in the middle.
Yeah. But the other thing, joyful feminist, I think one of the things that is interesting about the word feminist, like, I get why people are disaffected by it for a number of reasons. One thing is, I think that there's more and more awareness now of, like, how especially the second wave of feminism really only served white feminists, and I think that there's a lot of work to be done publicly and privately by a lot of people to
serve the other audiences,
or to like settle and acknowledge and work out the damages that have been done by doing that, to work out the ways. Things are a lot more complicated and a lot simpler at the same time than we think that they are. But definitely, I'm a feminist. I mean, 100%, I'm a feminist. But I'm not. I'm not interested in being the kind of
Poster girl or poster woman?
Not even that, but like I'm not interested in excluding people with the word feminism. Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's change tack a little bit in terms of I'm really interested in a couple of the residencies that you've done and been selected for. Now, unfortunately, the pandemic put paid to the second one about you in the sense of not being able to travel to the UK. You did that virtual one, the Norwich one, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. But that was always planned to be a virtual
always planned.
one.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So, in fact, the timing was probably brilliant.
Yeah. And that one came directly out of the pandemic and the idea. So what I did for that residency, which I'm still obsessed with doing now, is watched wildlife on webcams. And so the residency was in Norwich. So I watched, there's a peregrine camera on the top of the cathedral there, and I watched the peregrine falcons, and I imagined all kinds of things around it. It was super, super good. And it was a very, I've been so fortunate to have really good community-minded residencies, but that one we really did connect online in a lot of very beautiful ways. I was,
Isn't
really
that
happy
interesting?
to do
Because that feels really reciprocal to me because of the albatross cam at Tairoa Head and people from around the world zooming into that and watching it.
100%.
So,
100%.
Yeah, isn't that lovely? And the other one was in Krakow in Poland, and you're of Polish and Irish descent. So, I'd love to hear, what was your outtake on that? What was the kind of best things about it?
I mean, that was life-changing, that residency, in a lot of ways. So both of them were UNESCO City of Literature residencies, and I'm a huge fan of how Nikki Page supports people here in and through that network.
It's just cracked open the international opportunities since we've become a city of literature.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But so my family Polish connection. Polish is my mum's first language. Her parents were refugees to the UK after the Second World War. They were both like prisoners of war, so they got refugee status through that. And actually, Alzheimer's in a Spoon is a lot about uncovering some of my grandmother's story, which is still coming to light. Just recently, I got some of her papers from when she was admitted to the prisoner of war camp. My aunt gave them to me, and that was something incredible. But so the residency in Krakow, I was interested in going home to Poland in a way, and I was investigating this folk story about the trumpeter of Krakow that is so embedded in the culture there that still every day, every hour, there's a trumpeter who stands on the tallest tower in Krakow and plays, it's called the Hey Now, a trumpet call to all four, to the north, to the south, to the east, to the west. And at the west, like he doesn't continue, he cuts it off like before the tune ends, because that was when the evil Tartar shot him through the throat, and I was really interrogating this whole story of the Tartars, it's not evil people. These are people who've been vilified and sent out of their homelands, and we perpetuate this kind of story about them being so terrible with every call there. But I found people who lived to the north, to the south, to the east, to the west of the city, and interviewed them and made a big kind of cut and paste artwork, poetry, interview, essay, I don't know, genre's not real, right?
No.
Story about...
You're multi-genre.
Yeah, about what that meant. And that residency was really good from that point of view, but also it was really important because, personally really important to me, because I was in a really bad marriage at the time, and I nearly didn't accept to go on the residency because, my husband at the time was so angry that I almost didn't dare take it. And it was only when I left and went on that residency that I realised really what an awful situation I was in. And so I had to come back and change everything. And that was...
was that including the shift from Hawaii Flat to here?
Yeah, and so that, I still find that really difficult to speak about, but I am super, super grateful to everyone within that system for just supporting me anyway, like, you know, supporting writers to do whatever it is that they need to do, but also I feel a great deal of kind of like community acceptance and love from that. So
Right, brilliant. And I mean, you're still doing a myriad of things. You're one of the facilitators for the Ōtepoti Writers Lab.
Yeah.
Do zine workshops. You had the whole Possibilities project. Can you quickly encapsulate that?
Can I quickly do
I'm going to give her the
Beverly?
eight-word thing here.
Possibilities project is a poem that actually came out of Krakow as well. It's a poem by Wisława Szymborska. She wrote it when Poland was under Stalin's rule / occupation, and was writing about, you know, what are the small possibilities you can have. I wrote a possibilities poem when I was in Krakow. I believe I can't remember any of the lines now. I don't prefer capitalism. I don't have a preference I can articulate. This is not 8 words. When I came back to Ōtepoti, talked to Nikki Page about it, and we set up the Possibilities Project. And during lockdown, writers wrote their own possibilities poems. Some it would just.
It ran a life of its own, didn't it?
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, we thought we might have got 10 poems, but we got weeks and weeks worth, and we got them from as far as South Korea to Hungary to all kinds of places. It was amazing. Yeah.
Now let's. We're going to get you to Boston. That's a given. But what are your sort of creative ambitions when you're back? Do you have some other projects you want to talk about now, or?
Finishing the PhD is a massive creative project.
How far through that are you?
2 years. Yeah. But one good thing that's going to be happening. So I'm going to be having an exhibition because a lot of the poems, the cut and paste ones and the sewing ones I've been doing are quite visual. And I'm going to be having an exhibition of them in April. So I'm working towards that exhibition. It's going to be in Dunedin and also in Wanaka and maybe also in Oturahua, which is where I'm really interested in a particular story there for my PhD. So I'm working towards that. And that's enough, I think.
It sounds like more than enough. Now let's do a recap about Friday night.
Yeah.
So, Liz.
Oh, me. Okay. On Friday night, Eliana Gray, Jasmine Taylor, Claire Lacey, Rushi Vias, and me will be at Ajo on, I think it's 333 George Street, but don't quote me on that, from 5:30 till 7 o'clock. If you could come along, I would be so grateful for the support. And I promise that we will give you a really good, fun and community-minded evening, and there is a raffle, and that's my story.
Brilliant. So get yourself to Ajo and get Liz to Boston. Brilliant talking to you, Liz. Thank you so much. And maybe we'll catch up again post-Boston and you can tell us how that went.
That would be amazing. Thank you, Beverly. And I know you said Happy Valentine's Day, but also Happy Kill Captain Cook Day, just to keep it real.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's a different spin on it. Now, speaking of Valentine's Day, because that's pretty much our show for today. So I'd like to go out on another New Zealand love song by the iconic and forever interesting Chris Knox and his track, Not Given Lightly.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. We could have gone deep in any one of them, and I guess I was just conscious of time, and I've probably ended a little bit early. I don't want to sort of cut you off. So.
Hello, my friend. It's morning, time to wake now. Your body and mind entwined, we'll have to break now. But I want your flesh, your warmth to stay beside me. Oh, how I wish you could be deep inside me. Show me your eyes, your love, most tender feelings, and I'll give you mine. Be truthful in revealing mind, 'cause it's you that I love, and it's true that I love. It's love not given lightly, but I knew this was love, and it's you that I love, and it's more than what it might be. When we're alone, I cannot always face you. Maybe my mood won't let these arms embrace you. But that doesn't mean my love somehow diminished. Give me the time to show our love's unfinished. 'Cause it's you that I love, and it's true that I love, and it's love not given lightly. But I knew this was love, and it's you that I love, and it's more than what it might be. I need your body, your mind, and your emotions. Shed me your tears till I drown in your oceans. 'Cause it's you that I love, and it's true that I love. It's love not given lightly, but I knew this was love, and it's you that I love, and it's more than what it might be. And every word I sing is true. What can I say? The words destroy your meaning. It's only cliche to get across this feeling that it's you that I love, and it's true that I love, and it's love not given lightly. But I knew this was love, and it's you that I love, and it's more than what it might be. Every word I sing's for you. 'Cause it's you that I love, and it's true that I love, and it's love not given lightly. But I knew this was love, and it's you that I love, and it's more than what it might be. This is a love song to John and Leisha's mother. This isn't easy, I might not write another. But it's you that I love, and it's true that I love, and it's more than what it might be. And I knew this was love, and it's you that I love, and it's love not given lightly. 'Cause it's you that I love, and it's true that I love, and it's love not given lightly. But I knew this was love, and it's you that I love, and it's more than what it might be. And it's you that I love, and it's true that I love, and it's love not given lightly. But I knew this was love, and it's you that I love, and it's more than what it might be. Yes, it's you that I love, and it's true that I love, and it's love not given lightly. But I knew this was love, and it's you that I love, and it's more than what it might be. And it's you that I love, and it's true that I love, and it's love not given lightly. But I knew this was love, and it's you that I love, and it's more than what it might be. 'Cause it's you that I love, and it's true that I
Right, well, that's our show for this month. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll be back next month when, as I mentioned earlier in the show, one of my guests will be the new Burns Fellow for this year, Michaela Nyman. So till then, keep reading and keep writing.
This podcast was produced by OAR FM Dunedin with support from New Zealand On the Air.